Welcome to The Chat, where we take you behind the inbound scenes of some of the world's fastest growing companies. For the past 9 years as Chatmetrics, we've had an exclusive inside view of how these industry leaders are revolutionising inbound marketing and sales across diverse sectors. Each week, we bring you conversations with top minds in marketing and sales, sharing insider secrets and strategies that drive inbound success. Join us on The Chat, your front row seat to the future of inbound.
Hey, Jerry.
Hello, pal. How are you?
Hi, Jerry. How are you going?
Good. Welcome back to The Chat.
Welcome to the chat.
So the next session that we're talking about is marketing for social media. I thought today, let's kick off with firstly having a bit of an understanding about the landscape, and then we'll get on to the rest of it.
Sure.
Okay, so look, understanding the landscape and the importance of social media or marketing for social media is pretty important. And look, it's something that these days you would think that every marketer does know about and are fully across. But so we'll go across it pretty briefly. But the major players, obviously, you've got the big ones. You've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. There's a couple of, would you classify YouTube as social media?
Yeah, it's huge.
I think it's a platform. I suppose it does allow for comments and so forth. And now I guess with the shorts, it's much more social type platform than necessarily just sharing your videos as it was before.
Yeah, if you classify TikTok as social media, then YouTube was the first one of the video content. So it's definitely a huge part of social media.
Yep. And it's quite good for SEO as well, isn't it, in terms of the other benefits? So look, they're the major players, and probably the main ones we'll focus on today. But I think the other thing that can't be missed or that we have to mention, particularly with regards to, it's interesting that I just mentioned YouTube and TikTok and Shorts, the importance of video or the power of video in marketing for social media is something that's just absolutely grown and gone ballistic really in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Video's been one of those things that sort of 10 years ago, there wasn't so much. It was more text-based and picture-based posts.
Yeah. True.
But these days, and particularly TikTok started the short form video trend.
Yes.
And now all of the other platforms are doing the same thing. You can see a similar format on YouTube and Facebook.
Absolutely.
And I guess Instagram have got their stories that they use through there.
Yes.
How important do you think mobile is in marketing for social media?
I think mobile is the major share when it comes to social media, because if you see, there are a lot of social media apps that we talk about. Now, they were only mobile specific back in the day. For example, Instagram used to be mobile only. There was no interface for the computers. And so the mass adoption of using your phone for social media, and that's what social media platforms want. They want your quickest attention, which is always available on your phone or on your PC. It's like emails, like working, you check things, and then you're gone. Back in the day when you never had emails on your phone. So emails are only when you're at the PC. So that's what they wanted to leverage, so that you're always connected and spending your time, and decreasing your attention span is the benefit of the social media platform.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, please go ahead.
And it's there. Our phones are in our hip pocket all day virtually. And the big platforms leverage off that. The algorithms, they use psychology to make sure that things are attractive enough for us to keep us glued to those small screens. The flip side of that is they make it so easy to be able to produce and share content from your mobile onto those platforms. You've got the camera there. there's so many different forms of editing software now and apps that you can have on your phone that you can virtually take a video and have it posted across the social media platforms in under 5 minutes, under 2 minutes, probably, quite frankly.
Yes.
So depending on how long the film is. So when you're marketing for social media, it's pretty important if you want to set yourself up for success. And to do that, you really need a pretty strong foundation. So one of the key components to that, defining your goals and objectives. So what it is that you're actually trying to get out of that advertising that you're doing on social media. I said advertising, marketing more broadly to start with. The goal really needs to be determined and understood as to whether is it you're looking for brand awareness with views and follows? Are you looking to build an audience that actually connect and subscribe or follow your particular channel, depending on where it is? Are you looking to generate leads on the platform itself, where you want to capture some type of contact details, or potentially sell off the platform itself now with things I think Instagram can, and Facebook most definitely push you over into a marketplace? Or you're looking to push them into a website, where we're looking to get clicks into a website or down through some other type of sales funnel. So understanding what those goals and objectives are is the main point in making sure that you're setting yourself up to success. But on the flip side, as much as knowing what you want to achieve, the other side is understanding your core audience and your ideal client profile, exactly what it is, who are your ideal clients.
True.
Because it's not until you understand those clients that you can begin to know what it is that resonates with them, what's going to connect with them, what they'll be interested in seeing to get the outcomes that you're looking for. And obviously, once you've got your objectives sorted out and understand who your audience are, then you need to find the platform where your audience exists, where they are spending their time. And that can change. Change it might over time, but I think that it can be multiple platforms at once. It might be a case that, using a combination of YouTube and Instagram, or YouTube and Facebook, or Instagram and TikTok, depending on the demographics of your audience and where they are. But that's something only you can determine through your research.
Yep, that's right.
Then it's been interesting for us as we're going through, and this podcast that we're doing here is part of our content creation strategy, our marketing strategy. It's been interesting to build this out and actually have a look at what our content strategy is. I think that's the next pillar in making sure that once you've got your goals and you know where you're going to be, then you really need to have that content strategy to work out what are you going to produce, where are you going to produce it, how are you going to optimize what you do produce. For us, the content calendar was the first thing, researching just the platforms and your existing clients, and you can do surveys and have conversations with them to understand where they are, so that the posting schedule or the calendar really was the first step for me. What days, what times, how many times a day, etc. That was the beginning point for it. What's your thoughts when it comes to creating valuable and engaging content?
I think the rules are pretty simple. Let's put this as an example for us. Now, when we are doing this for Resortly, yes, there is a lot to talk about in Resortly, but can it be all the time? Can it be in a podcast ongoing? I think that'll be firstly too much about us. So that's where the rule of 80-20 applies, that you can just go 20% about yourself, maybe sometimes about the product that you have, about your company, and then 80% is something educational. But at the core of it, you need to have the knowledge to be a part of a podcast, which again, this is the first time I'm also doing this. That's when you dig deeper and get all these little gems that you have discovered to share out, even if it's the slightest and the simplest thing that you want to share, that you had some experience with, like sharing a screenshot without saving it, and whatever that might be, that brings
Could
any
I
value.
share one of those screenshots that we've got earlier on from the screen, this frozen screen? Yeah,
Exactly. So if you look around, and there's so much knowledge out there, it's not easy to go and find a gems out of a podcast or a video that you want to see. That if a video is 2 hours long, how many people does have the patience until unless you are bringing so much value that nobody has on the earth, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
considering that, being realistic, how many people are going to watch us do this? I won't have that number in millions in my head until unless we reach the level where we're supplying information that is not out there, and then we have some audience. But if you look around what others are doing, almost everyone is doing trying to do the same thing, trying to talk about the same topics that have been already been spoken about. It's just that they build their audience, and now their audience consider them as a source of information or knowledge. So it's easy to make a plan that there's going to be a content strategy, but it's also difficult to keep it or make it engaging. So I do believe in short form content when it comes to education. Like, I personally don't use social media platforms, none of them. But if I want to use something for knowledge, I'll just go YouTube and probably won't subscribe to anyone, just see what I want to see. But all the other TikToks and all, like, they're really promoting short form videos. And I think I like to call it the short span. So they're just playing with your attention span and they want it lesser and then shorter. Yeah. So I don't like to be trapped by that. So I don't use those platforms for that one matter. You still have a lot of control what you want to see. And that's why I think we start our podcast with YouTube as well. Yeah, but what do you
Yeah.
think?
Look, I think it's very. I was going to say it's difficult to create content that's valuable and engaging
Yeah,
consistently over time. And you're right, we're starting. This is just the very beginning for us. We'll learn as we go, I'm sure. I'm not expecting too many views on these early podcasts that we do. We'll get
yeah,
them out there and we'll be consistent with it. We've got a couple of guests lined up as well in future. But we'll just use this format, I think, for the time being. And for us, part of the content strategy is that these podcasts and the initial articles that we're writing on these particular topics, that will be the source point then to be able to optimize the content out for each other platform. So
yes,
we'll have to have different formats. So this long format that we're doing here will be a podcast, obviously, that goes on YouTube and the other podcast channels.
yeah,
But then we'll take snippets out of this, change the ratios, make it vertical to be able to put on TikTok short videos, Facebook for both mobile and desktop. And there will even be different messages. We might have a different B-roll that gets people's attentions differently on TikTok to what we have on YouTube. I don't know. We haven't really gone through that point yet in this stage,
yeah,
but we'll get there with that.
yeah,
Building a social media community, and I guess this is again the very earliest stepping points for us in this. And I think personally it's going to be the hardest. You can build the content, you can distribute the content, and you can create some pretty good, I think, valuable and engaging content. But building the community is the difficult part for me. I think that's what's going to be for us in this business, the most time consuming part. I've seen some people do it very well. I mentioned yesterday, Chili Piper, excellent community strategy and execution, I've got to say. But I think that building the community is the hardest part. Fostering authentic engagement is probably the cornerstone. We're doing it to be sincere. Pal, you and I have the same drivers in terms of helping other people. And so where there's a lot of sincerity in what we're doing, what we're talking about, it might be a little bit clunky as we're starting and not feeling so comfortable in front of the screen at the moment.
yeah. Constantly at the camera.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
I've got that sign there. And so I think the intent is clear and there is authenticity there, then
yeah,
that should shine through. The difficulty for us is that business is pretty global. We're stretched across several time zones. And by the time we go through Europe, Australia, and the US, having resources and people to actually engage in that social media across all of those channels is a test. So we might have to, and it's one of the things I'm considering now while we're talking about it, we might have to consider that we focus only on one of those markets to start with, where we can dedicate our time to. Nobody's awake 24 hours a day, even though we operate 24 hours a day.
yeah.
I think one thing that comes into my mind more and more, particularly for Zotli and the live chat software and that the AI chatbot on the front end, is collaborating with partners and influencers. There's people in For Zotlin, our live chat and AI chatbot software that we've built, there's a lot of influencers in the B2B sector that could be very valuable partners for us. So that's an area that we'll be exploring in particular, given our low level of resources, the small team that we're operating.
Yeah.
One of the other important things with regards to when you're building the social media communities, you're going to get negative comments and feedback potentially. There's usually, you can't keep all the people happy all the time, as they say. You should really be monitoring your online reputation through things like Hootsuite and Sprout Social to get an indication of what people are saying and whenever your brand is mentioned. And we talk about monitoring and managing online reputation. Leads into measuring and analysing your social media performance. It's good to be putting all of this content out there, producing all this content, distributing across all the different platforms, engaging with the community as the people are engaging with content. But you really need to be measuring and understanding that it's driving towards your goals and objectives that you set at the beginning. So to that end, whilst you can have an outcome of wanting more leads, you need to understand exactly what the clear and measurable KPIs are. Will it be the number of leads? Will it be the form fills? Will it be some other particular outcome? The social media tools, the analytics in most of the social scheduling tools like Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, they've got some pretty good analytics in terms of letting you know what's going on with your social media and the level of engagement, comments, and so forth.
Yeah.
What about in terms of auditing your social media, pal?
Yeah, there's still tools out there that you can use, things like SEMrush and Ahrefs and a few other tools there. But I believe in audits on more of a manual level also. There are a few things that can be automated that you would get to know how many comments you got on this, how many comments you got on the other thing. But looking at getting comments and likes and all that stuff is sometimes not exactly in line with what you wanted to achieve. And especially running an audit is always should be inclusive of running an audit on your competitors at the same time, so you can learn from them, avoid the mistakes that they've made. So which does not come in all these audit tools that you're looking for. It prominently tells you about yourself and how your social media page is performing. But when you look at others, you get to see what new strategies are they applying, what kind of content, if they have changed the content, why have they changed it? Is it engaging more than the past one? And so I believe in that kind of audit more than just technical audit on it's crucial.
And that makes perfect sense. That doing those audits, then not just looking at your own content and auditing back to see that your content is aligned with the original strategy, your brand and tone and the messaging that you want to put out there to deliver your objectives. Also seeing what your competitors are doing, then that allows you really to go through and optimize and refine your strategy potentially if you need to get the outcomes that you're looking for.
Yeah.
There's some advanced strategies that you can use for social media marketing to be successful. We touched on one briefly, influencer marketing, and really that's leveraging, I'll say influencers, but leveraging people that are in the platforms that have audience the same as your potential audience or your target audience. And it's really a way that you can get your message across a much larger audience, and they don't have to be huge. There might be this terminology now, micro influencers, where they're not hundreds of thousands of followers, but it might be 5,000, 10,000, as long as they're very closely related to the niche that you're operating in and that your audience sits with them. That's somewhere that can be very, very helpful. Up to date, we've really talked about all of our organic posts, the information that we just share on social media. Influencer marketing can help amplify that. Advertising, Pal, that's another area, isn't there?
Social media advertising. Yeah, running paid ads, social media, I mean, it can be very beneficial. Depends again that if that's where your audience is spending their time. I have seen probably a big shift in how the Facebook ads used to perform back in the day compared to now. I've seen many companies actually totally relied and actually grew their businesses based on how Facebook ads were performing probably 5 years back. People made big funnels out of it, very successful funnels on a very affordable cost. but that seems to have been shaken now. Paid ads are not only more competitive, but they also have performance issues. For example, that, like I said, how it used to perform back in the day compared to now, it keeps on changing as the audience keeps on moving. Like Facebook used to be, at some stage, I think we all thought that Facebook is going to be and is going to stay the strongest social media platform out there. But I think soon enough, even they realize that Instagram might just take it all over. And I think maybe that's why they bought it. And as you see now, you'll see a lot of people talk about Instagram more than Facebook now. And I think that might be one reason why the performances on ads and all that stuff is declining from my experience. And so that being said, if we say that the people that were ideally found at Facebook, are they on Instagram now? Not necessarily. I mean, because Instagram is more photo and video kind of a platform than a chit chat or a conversation driven a platform, which Facebook was almost a lot of things. People were having comments and replies and stuff like that, likes and videos and whatnot, stories. But now I think it's more niched towards that. Photos, you go Instagram. You want to see videos, you go TikTok. You want to see full length videos, you go YouTube. So I think even the buyers, the users are actually still evolving. That where back in the day it was just rolling Facebook all day long and it never stopped. So understanding all these aspects makes you knowledgeable enough to probably make a better decision that where should you go advertising before we go advertising. And if let's say if you're running some e-commerce store that is some handbags and all that stuff, I would say go all in with the Instagram, right? Maybe TikTok a little bit, but Facebook is losing audience on that kind of sector. I've seen much more on Facebook, which is running ads on applications and apps, and maybe that's what I see because I'm from that industry, so they're targeting me on that manner. But it's I've seen a big shift in it. There used to be no such ads 5 6 years ago, and we see more such ads on Facebook. You would not see such ads on Instagram, even if you go
Mm,
spend time there. So
mm,
Pinterest is another platform where I see a particular type of ads always running. It's usually products. It's always some kind of new invention made in China and cheap $100, $20 type of things that
mhm,
always on Pinterest that I've seen. And YouTube is again a very affordable platform to run ads, depending on what the CPM is for your niche. But YouTube really works very well because I think YouTube still has, from my point of view, still has a lot of serious, whereas Facebook had all moms and pops and grandfathers and grandmoms on it just for the sake of being connected with their families or with the grandchildren or whatever. Whereas YouTube is none of that, but just consuming content that you aspire. So understanding all these things may help in where should you spend your money, and then through analytics you can then make much more informed decisions.
And it's interesting, isn't it? You talked about the difference between YouTube and Facebook. That's a little bit about depending on the audience that you're looking to target as well. If you're selling to
Yeah,
the grandparents and the aunties and uncles
that's
then
right.
that are
Yes,
on
exactly.
Facebook, then that's where you should be. Yeah.
That's
Um,
right.
it's interesting that depending on where your audience is, will probably have the biggest impact on where you actually advertise. But that comment you made about you're watching the analytics and in my mind that I hear that straight away. It's just be testing, always be testing.
Yes,
Test across the platforms. Once you find the platform that works for you, you've got an ad that works, then use that as a control and then test other ads against that ad to see if you can improve it. Because the reality, and it's an old advertising adage that we get bored of our ads before our customers do. Our customers only see the ads when they're actually interested or looking to solve the problem that we solve for them. So the
yeah,
reality is that if you've got a good ad that's working, then really you should stick to it and keep it pushing along. Yeah.
that's right.
Social media listening, again, is another one that we spoke about. Very briefly, you can use a couple of platforms to listen, but you shouldn't just listen, obviously, about your own mentions, but that's something you want to be across your niche pretty well and understand
Yeah,
what everybody's doing there. Social media automation, it's almost the the black magic. The social media platforms don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
But the reality is the amount, because they want people to spend their time on there, but the reality is the amount of time it takes you to do things. Some level of automation helps. And there's different types of automations. For instance, I mentioned before scheduling services. So that automatically puts all of your posts in, it puts all of your posts into a platform, which then goes and posts them for you at the agreed schedule. That's one form of automation where it's actually posting. There's other types of automation that they do frown on, things like engagement tools where they're putting likes and comments against people's posts to try and engage with them, and it's a machine doing it rather than a person. We've all heard about the bot farms where it's just fake profiles to try and engage with you, to try and lift your profile so that the platform sees that you're more engaging for the audience.
Yes.
So the only thing I would say with automation is be very careful. Be very careful. It's the quickest way to get banned from a platform. And I should say that, look, you can't be reliant, and we briefly touched on this yesterday, you can't, and you mentioned it earlier today, Facebook used to have, there were people that had huge funnels built around Facebook that were very successful that aren't successful anymore. These algorithms, these platforms, you're at their mercy effectively, whether you're banned because you've done something wrong, whether you're banned because you've done something they don't like, whether somebody doesn't like you and they've targeted you, whether your account gets hacked and you can't get it back.
Yes.
My advice, my strongest counsel is always be collecting the emails of your audience and have an email campaign complimentary engagement with your audience that you have on social. If you've got an audience on social, you should be just trying to capture contact details from everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
So be careful with the automation. You can end up banned. And if you haven't been collecting emails, then how are you going to get in touch with all of those individuals?
Yeah, true.
The future of social media is very interesting for me. I think AI is going to play a big, huge part in it. But one of the biggest things that we're seeing and experience is the rise of short form video content, Pal. Why do you think that is?
Short attention spans is one huge reason that I see. Now, even for myself, if I go somewhere to find some information or to learn something, I usually go YouTube, only YouTube. Because like I said, there's a lot of control that is there. I'm not binded to be swiping up to get the next video and all that stuff. So for me, I like to watch short form content when it's about knowledge. Because in most cases, the people who are making videos, I believe 90% of the time is not to help you, but to help themselves, build a channel and so on and so forth. And that's what, when you have a limited amount of time in your day and you want to be productive, you want to stay away from those videos. Because if you're asking something that, how do you record this in using OBS and all that stuff, the real answer will just be 30 seconds long or probably a minute max. But there is no video that you'll find less than 20, 30 minutes about it, because they want more engagement. You see the video more, your rankings go up for the video, not for you, for the video. And probably they get a higher CPM paid to monetize their channel. So I believe in short form content if you're really giving some value. So I think that's what we are going to also apply, apart from these podcasts, that will make a video that is to the point. I don't even mind if I start a video which says, how do you send a file through Dropbox or whatever, where I don't start with a hi. I said, open Dropbox, upload file here, log in here, send it off, whatever, done. I would rather do that than just sending a big B-roll and then boring you with, hi guys, we've had it enough. So if you drive real value, maybe you'll be perceived differently, that this is no bullshit and right to the point. So I would really subscribe to somebody who's more knowledgeable than me and who's got absolute short form content. Let it be 5 seconds, I don't care. But
Mm,
I would really go and subscribe to that channel today. If I find anyone, I've got 3 people that I've subscribed to on YouTube, so I'm like really fussy with it. And I keep on looking that should I unsubscribe them. But they are absolute value. So they are like way more knowledgeable than I have ever been till date. So they've got something I want to look at. And they're to the point. But like I said, I'm imagining if there is somebody that is even more short form content but to the point, then I'll stick with it. But coming back to your question about the why is it so viral, that I think that's what the concept the TikTok brought us. That people
yep.
who are not productive and they just want to look around and browse
Scroll.
around
They
and
just
just
do the
kill
scroll
their
and then
time.
scroll
That's
and
right.
scroll.
You next gossip, you want to get the next gossip, keep going. So I think it's built on that methodology, that whole psychology, which I think we should be very aware what we look at. Yes, let it be short form, that's fine, because I've also got very little patience for long videos. But yeah.
I know we're killing people with this one now. It's like, I can
Yeah, I
see
know.
it. Yeah, the rise of short term, and here it is. You've got a 40-minute video
2 hour long.
that you posted up, but that's all right. It'll be broken
Right.
down into plenty of small, short pieces as well.
Yes.
So what about social commerce? What I've seen, and I got a surprise because I don't go on social media either. One of our clients asked me to assist with some stuff on Instagram around some posts that they were doing, and I was surprised there to see that there's some type of shop access. And then now I find out that you can actually complete a full. It's a full commercial transaction within the Instagram app itself. You can actually have a shop there, and obviously they've got marketplace in Facebook. We're seeing this whole e-commerce shift to social commerce, effectively, where you've got businesses that just live within Facebook itself. They have a marketplace and they're selling products on Facebook. It's growing. I'm sure Facebook love it. They'll get benefit from the attracting more users and more regular users coming to those shops. Those shops are advertising and promoting their offerings through the platform, so they're generating revenue for Facebook as well. Personally, I just see that growing and potentially moving to a much higher level of engagement. Pal, we've seen where there's shops on Facebook that are effectively doing a live stream and showing the products and talking about the products, and people are buying them in the live stream. So it's fascinating. And I think as artificial intelligence has a bigger impact on social media, we're going to end up with this potential of some cynicism. People are going to start to say, is this real? Is this real, or is this AI? But I think on the flip side, it's also a possibility as AI improves that we're just going to see this wash of AI that is it is engaging. It may not be valuable, but I'm sure it'll be engaging, because that's going to be the aim of it, to try and get people to stay on the platforms longer, and everybody wants them to stay on their particular profile or their posts longer. It's coming. I think it's something we need to be aware of. I haven't seen personally too much in terms of AI in social media itself. We've seen YouTube is probably the one that comes to my mind the most in terms of faceless videos, where people are using AI a lot now to create faceless videos. So that's probably the tip of the iceberg as far as I see it.
Yeah, I think.
What about?
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, look, I think that beyond AI, then is the next step is new social media platforms and features. But in particular, we probably would have thought that we've got Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we haven't mentioned Twitter yet. But who would have thought that there would be something else? We've had a couple of others that have come and gone. There's been Clubhouse, which was an audio type social media platform, which really didn't do that well. We have seen Instagram bought by Facebook, so that's a consolidation there, but it's the two powerhouses effectively. Mm. You've got LinkedIn out the side as well, which is more of a professional. The new social media platforms if we look at how TikTok has taken off in the last couple of years, it's very new and it's been adopted very quickly and grown quickly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that it may well be more niche-based platforms moving forward than necessarily the big ones. unless, who knows, I wouldn't have thought that something like TikTok would grow as quickly as it has either.
Yeah, true. I think when it comes to social commerce, I think it's again the same principle of fish where the fish is. And now, for example, if Google today announces that they're just gonna drop themselves out of the web, and then the whole traffic goes to obviously social media, right? And I think that day, and just a fictional thing, but that's something that will bring social commerce as the only form of commerce, because between commerce, online e-commerce, and combining that with social media platforms, like for calling it social commerce or whatever, there is this big giant called Google. So Google would never want to promote, if I was Google, would never want to promote that run your store in Facebook, because I'm, as a competitor, I'm letting my visitors off to
And
Facebook, and they might just stay in Facebook.
advertising revenue. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Google still promotes you to have your own website, and that's how they're benefiting from it. They would never want to promote any other platforms that might be a competition. So as much traffic and as much audience that the social platforms have, they won't just want to leverage from that and try and make some e-commerce into it. And yes, there are a lot of, they've got a big pool that only goes to marketplaces like Facebook to try and find things that are local and nearby kind of things. And then they just stick with it once they know that this kind of commerce does happens better on Facebook Marketplace than going Google.
Individual
So
websites, that's right, because it's a marketplace where you get to see a broad range as opposed to an individual website where you're going store by store. And Google presents that. So I saw a statistic the other day, quite a large one, that there's something like 17% now globally of search traffic asks ChatGPT the question first. And so
oh,
that, I think, is a real risk to Google itself in terms of,
yeah, yes.
and we know that Google is working on an AI search engine. And so I wonder, and they've done it once before and failed miserably, but I wonder if Google are considering another social platform. They did that with Google Plus, which
Yeah,
was a mixed match of half Facebook, half
knows what.
business. Yeah, who knows what it was actually. That's right. And anyway, it's gone now. But I wonder if they have some type of social platform on their roadmap, particularly when you see the likes of TikTok that's just grown so quickly. And the others have adopted very quickly. YouTube brought the shorts format into their platform to compete with TikTok. And Facebook have done the same thing as well. And there's evolution through these social media platforms. The big boys, they can iterate quickly, innovate, and have a large impact because they've got a large audience. And I think that's where it'd be harder for the newer players to come in. But
It is, yeah.
Elon Musk wants to turn Twitter into the WeChat for the Western world. And if anyone can do it, he can do it. But I think he's got a fair way to go before he gets there.
Yeah,
And from what I've seen, Twitter's lost a lot of users. But I guess I wonder whether they're real users or they're bots. I know there's a lot of people that have left Twitter for the things that have been going on. But
yeah,
it'll still be remain to seen if there's a new platform that pokes its head through.
I think there'll
Look at,
always be room for something. Something will keep coming, something will keep crashing. That's how the world rolls. I think that's never going to stop. But I've given it a thought too, that is ChatGPT going to replace, probably seems like the only possibility replacing search at present. So
yes.
because it's not an open platform, you just gotta go and sign in and it's just get into your portal. So it's still like getting into a software as a service kind of thing, which exactly what it is. Google is an open space. You can just go and find whatever, speak to your phone or things like that. If ChatGPT had that option and they made themselves like some really catchy name, like Uber or whatever, I think they would have taken over Google already. So, and obviously they present the options which are a little bit more logical and broad, right from your local search to e-commerce search or any other type of search, which ChatGPT does pretty well anyway. But I think because of a closed environment, it's not going to be adopted anything like Google until they still are a closed platform. Yeah, but that's what I feel. If they have that option today, I'll switch with Google right now.
Yeah. It's interesting. ChatGPT has access now to the web. And so you can ask it a question and it is crawling. And I'm finding myself personally, I'm still not using it for search. I tend to go to Google for search, and that might be a habit. I'm using AI for tools really to help me with guidance and ideas and frameworks and that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, it can write the outline of an article, for instance, but I still wouldn't let it write the whole article. It's one of those things that I don't. That's not me. There you go. I think that's the best way to put it. It's not me. And if I want to be authentic, and if we really do want to help people, then it has to come from us. So that's my thoughts. Right. So look, aside from all of this about social media, and social media is very social, very casual. It's all friendly. It's all beer and skittles until someone gets hurt, as they say. There's one thing that an organisation needs to do, particularly around social media. And I know when organisations first, particularly blue chip corporates, ASX 200, Fortune 500s, started to get involved in social media, they were very concerned and they wanted to establish guidelines and policies to control how their people operated on social media, the fear of reputation. You do need to have some very clear guidelines, I think, for the marketing team and that are engaging in social media, but you can't really control your own employees. They're all themselves, their own profiles, and will engage and do what they see fit. Yeah. Obviously, you can have some minimum expectations around morals and ethics and so forth. But I think for the marketing team in particular, establishing guidelines and policies to make sure that there's a consistent ethical approach to social media from your business. Things like brand voice and tone, making sure there's consistency in the way the business is presented. Content standards, the standard in terms of quality versus quantity, the standard of the content. The engagement protocols, who will the organisation engage with? Who won't they engage with? What will they follow any political parties? Will they have any political commentary at all? Or will they stay completely apolitical? And the same with employee advocacy. What's the expectation on employees? How much do they share and engage with your social media? And obviously the legal and ethical considerations. That's the dry part of this conversation, but they can't be forgotten. They're really probably a good place to finish because everyone will be asleep by now anyway.
Yeah.
How have you found this conversation today, pal, about social media, marketing for social media?
It's very interesting. I think a few things that we always see around and they're operating, but when you think about them, you take a pause and you talk about them, then your brain starts to think and dig deeper and find some things. Never thought about that. So I think it's been wonderful talking about all this and a lot of insights that you've shared. We catch up often, but still we never really talk about this to that detail. And I think it's just a beginning of new thinking as you speak. So I think it was wonderful for me. What about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed the insights that you shared. I appreciate it. So hopefully our audience did as well. And we'll sign off now and hand them over to the next one.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, pal. See you next time.
Thanks, Jay. Bye-bye.